grasping the thin, almost translucent veil between that of fact and fiction, revealing mysteries of the past, folklore passed down from father to son, unsolved murders, and things that go bump in the night. You've entered Deceptive Reality.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Deceptive Reality Podcast. My name is Nick, and with us, as always, is the barbiguous Bert.
What?
Barbiguous.
Barbiguous.
Yes. Do you have any idea what that one means?
Nope. I know what ambiguous is.
No, there's no ambiguity about this at all.
Oh, man.
It's a fella that's got a beard.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah, that's both of us. We're both barbiguous.
We're both barbiguous, Nick.
I had to keep looking that up because I forgot it over and over again before we got here.
Well, my beard is starting to get a little gray in it, Nick. I'm getting old.
Oh, that's distinguished, I think they call that.
Or old, yeah.
I don't know. You ever heard anyone call George Clooney old? I don't think so.
Yeah,
he's got that salt and pepper going all over.
Well, and he has for like the last 20 some years, Nick.
Yeah, that's true. And yet still no one calls him old.
You know, I actually just saw a thing today, somewhat off topic. Actually, I don't know what the topic is. The topic could technically be George Clooney as far as I know. I don't know what's mysterious.
Yeah, the unaging George Clooney.
That is true. He has some type of a disease that I did not know about.
What is it?
Oh, you know what it was? I do remember. He was shooting a movie, and in that movie, he was tied to a chair.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to fall backwards and stop.
Uh-oh.
And it did not stop. And because his hands was tied down, the back of his head bounced off of the concrete floor.
Oh, wow.
And there's a membrane in the back of your head that it cracked. And now that membrane is not there. So his brain can shift into that small section.
Oh.
So he's in an amazing amount of pain whenever his brain shifts. So that's why they say he doesn't do a lot of action movies anymore, because he literally can't shake his head like he used to be able to.
Isn't that the whole thing that protects us from like sudden stops or?
Yes.
Oh yeah. He's got to be careful then, I guess.
It had a name. I forget what the name of it is, but there was a name to it. I can't remember, but I was looking at celebrities with significant health problems that's not revealed. And it was talking about how, you know, everyone has problems. So like there's like bipolar, like they shocker here. Shocker here. Mariah Carey is bipolar.
Okay.
And it talked about how that affected her music career and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, really interesting. But George Clooney was on there, which is
Isn't
insane.
this the time of year that Mariah Carey comes out of her cave for Christmas?
Oh my
Or is that
gosh.
another singer?
No, it's Mariah Carey with that stupid song, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Listen, if that song never came on at Christmas, I could care less, because every radio station known to man plays that, and people's going to get really mad. Do not email us this. But if I hear Feliz Navidad one more time, I'm so sick of Feliz Navidad.
I just want, what's it called? The Carol of the Bells on repeat. Because, you know, that sounds spooky and I like it.
It does have a little spook to it.
Da, 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 da. Yeah, I could get into that. Like that's.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, ever since I found out that Christmas has a lot of spooky traditions, I'm a little more into it.
Speaking of which, we almost got a Halloween or a Christmas special coming up. For all of you that watch the Halloween special, we appreciate that also. Our specials get all kinds of recognition.
Our specials are special.
They're very special.
Real special.
We have a potential special for Christmas we're not going to tell you about.
Yeah. Oh, it's wild. Wild. You'll never believe it.
Super wild. You'll never believe it. Never, ever.
We don't even believe it.
Yeah, I never believe half the stuff I say, Nick. I believe more of your stuff than mine. Heck, I even have to look up my words to make sure they're words sometimes.
Well, I have to look up that word I use before every podcast. So we're in the same spot, man.
This is true. Listen, but you're trying to add words to your vocabulary. I'm trying to create words in my vocabulary. There's a difference.
Words get created somewhere. Got to start somewhere.
Oh, man.
Who's the authority on that?
This is Nick's week.
That's right.
This is his topic, which is always exciting to me because that's less things that I have to do. I get to listen to a story.
This is one of my favorites, and I completely forgot about it until something you said in your episode, and I can't even remember what it was. And I'm like, oh, how could I have been sleeping on this?
You know, my biggest fear, Nick, has always been and always will be when I come to this, like I've got one in the hopper ready.
Right.
My biggest fear is I play your intro and it's my same exact story.
I've worried about that as well, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you're going to know what this is. And in fact, the introduction is quite brief, just to tease it. And then I'm going to see what you know about it already.
Interesting. Well, you've already got my brain working here, Nick. Because
well, for a game, take 3 guesses
of what it could be.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
man! I sure hope you don't get it.
Is it a big case? Can you give me at least a hint?
It started in the 90s, and it's been growing ever since. It's pretty contemporary. It's new-ish. As new as we are, anyway.
The only possible things that I can think of that's relevant now?
Right.
What's that thing they shoot? The trumpets?
Nope.
It's
one.
Trying to think of things relevant to today. The other one is the, I don't know what they call that thing. They made a video game on it. Is this based on a video game?
No. Are you thinking Slender Man?
No.
Oh, okay.
This isn't a thing. It's like a place. It's not necessarily a place. I don't know how to explain it. Like the corridor, the office corridor thing.
Oh, the back rooms.
The back rooms, yes.
Oh, no. Man, I wish it was. I find that spooky as all get out.
Me too.
Hold on, let me rewrite this. No, just kidding.
Because that was relevant to today. They're saying there's more and more of that. There's actually a TikTok channel where someone says he's in the back rooms.
I think we've all been in places that are like that.
Oh, for sure.
And it's unsettling. That's liminal spaces is the real name of that.
There you go. Didn't know that. And also, if you're listening, Kelly, you know, the place I'm thinking about is the same place me and you worked at. So first thing that pops in my brain, that's 2. I've got one more guess, right?
One more guess. I'm feeling better that you're not going to get it.
Man, it's relevant to this day. That's the part that gets me because most of these aren't relevant to today.
It's ramping up, in fact.
It's ramping up. I don't know. I legit have no clue. Zero clue.
Okay, we're going to stop there.
You might know something that I don't even know anything about. If it's like relevant now, there's only a few things I know that's relevant now, and they're cryptids. That's not true. And the other 2 that I got.
This is kind of a cryptid.
The only other cryptid I'd say is the Frogman. I brought that up like 2 podcasts ago. If you stole my idea,
not Frogman. Not Frogman. You didn't say anything about this. You said something that reminded me of this.
Oh.
Yeah.
I want to know what it is, Nick.
As soon as I asked you to play that game, I got really scared that you'd actually win it and it would sort of ruin my whole thing. So I took a risk there and I shouldn't have.
Well, I can tell you if it's any form of a cryptid, none of mine that I'm working on is currently cryptid-ish.
This is...
One is.
I don't know if it really falls into that category, but it kind of does. Would you like to hear the intro?
Yes, I want to know what it is, Nick.
On the Deceptive Reality podcast, we often cover eerie legends and terrifying tales from around the world. However, tonight, just by telling you of this entity, we may be putting you in danger in your very own homes. In the shadowy realm of the supernatural, a chilling phenomenon known as the black-eyed children lurks, striking fear into the hearts of those who dare to delve into the eerie unknown. These sinister apparitions, with their jet black, soulless eyes and spine-tingling requests, embody the darkest nightmares of the paranormal world. Anyone, anywhere, could get a visit from the black-eyed children. What kind of heartless person wouldn't want to help a vulnerable child in need? All they want is for you to let them in.
Have you heard of the black-eyed children?
You're not watching my channels, Nick.
What? Did you cover these guys?
I did a short video on the black-eyed children.
Oh, a short. Okay.
Yeah, it was a short. It was a 60-second YouTube short. And it was about, it basically broke down what they were. And I did a little bit of research so I could do the short on it, but I did not go too depth. Well, that's not true. I went a little in depth, but I did 60 seconds worth of in depth. So I didn't spend multiple days. I spent like 2 hours researching.
Okay. Well, there's a lot on this topic. There's literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of these stories that have come out since the 90s.
You know what's so weird about this? And now I'm just torqued off.
Uh-oh.
I did this video, this short on these children.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's pre-Halloween. That's very spooky.
Oh, yeah.
And no one freaking liked the video, Nick.
Well, hopefully they'll like this one. Otherwise, I've made a colossal mistake.
But maybe
this
they don't like it from a short concept.
Shorts are weird.
They're weird.
I think shorts are a good idea in theory, but full disclosure, I've never watched a short. I don't watch shorts.
I watch probably too many shorts. I find myself getting locked into them. So,
well, I'm into TikToks, so
those
that's
are shorts.
where I get my those are shorts, but I don't watch YouTube shorts. When I go to YouTube,
still shorts, Nick.
No, different. Like YouTube, go into YouTube. I want a full four-course meal. Go into TikTok. I'm going to the vending machine and hitting bag of chips.
So what you're saying is, just because Applebee's, do you have Applebee's in Canada?
Maybe. I've never been to it.
Just because Burger King, do you have Burger King?
Yes. It's gross.
Okay. Just because Burger King has chicken, which, by the way, Burger King, if you'd like to sponsor us, just contact me directly.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Leave
Nick.
me
I'm
out of
talking
this.
into it.
Yeah, except for the Nashville chicken.
I'll talk to him. Just shh. This could be a sponsor, Nick.
Okay, sorry.
Just because they got a chicken sandwich doesn't mean that you should buy the chicken sandwich. Is that what you're saying, basically?
I'm saying it's the wrong place. It's a restaurant, so I would get a meal there. But I don't eat at a vending machine. Like, I don't sit down for a meal at a vending machine. If they crammed a turkey in a vending machine, I wouldn't get it from that vending machine.
Did you ever watch streams on YouTube?
Very few.
Oh, but that's not none, Nick. That's not none.
Okay, that's true. That's true. But that's not a short. That's different.
That's not, but that's no, Nick. That's a completely different animal. You should have went to Twitch only.
I went to Twitch mostly.
So I can tell you, I don't know much about this, Nick. I know a little bit. There's actually some things there's like a few things that freak me out.
Okay.
And I hate to put it out into the ether. Because I feel like the demons are going to be like, what else?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then they write it down in their little book. which hopefully there was a sound effect for you guys so you understood what I did there if you're just listening. It's writing in the book. If not, I'm going to add it in after the fact. But yeah, I'm always scared. And the Black-Eyed Children kind of goes into that somewhat because I hate anything that manipulates emotion.
Right.
One of the things with those kids, because it invokes an emotion that makes you want to help them. And similarly to that, and this freaks me out, demons, don't be writing this stuff down. The other one, I heard this story this weekend. It's literally my second biggest fear is somebody told a story about how they had this dog and they were in the bathtub and they had a window behind their bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
And when they had the window open, their mom yelled up to him, "Hey, such and such dog just got hit by a car." So they rush and get out of the bath and stuff, run downstairs, and the mom's sitting on the couch. And they said, aren't you going to go help the dog? And she goes, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "You just said the dog got hit." And the mom's like, "What are you talking about?" And the dog was on the chair. So their theory is there's some type of a thing that acted like the mom's voice for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah. You know, there's a whole category of these things. There's one from Japanese legend and one also from Irish legend. Same kind of thing where there's a baby out in the swamp crying and getting people to try and help it. And as soon as you pick it up, it bites you on the throat. It latches onto you. Like it plays on your emotions and lures you out there.
There's also a demon in demonology that's a low-level demon. And the way that it sneaks in is it comes in as a thought in your head and it provides a name and it says it wants to be your friend. And there's a story that when you see them, so when they exorcise them and you can see them, they're like these 4-foot grotesque looking things that you'd never allow anywhere near you. But because you open the door, it allows them in.
See, that stuff's spooky. Because you let in these bad things, you can't get them out. They're just going to stick around. It's like bad guests.
It really is 100%. These, so in this story that I don't know very much about, in my research, I didn't dive too deep in. I've not heard stories about what happens if you let them in. Is that going to be in our narrative here? Is there a category for that?
It sure is. And we're not going to cover that right now, but later on, we're going to hear the only story about what happens if you let them in. Well, I can't say it's the only story. It's the only one that people seem to know about. Because
everyone else is dead, Nick.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Everyone suspects that if you let them in, like, we're not going to hear many stories from people who let them in, but we do have one, and it's a pretty well-known story. We'll just say it's not great to let them in, but we'll cover that later. I
assume not. They're little demon things, Nick. They look like children. Anytime there's been children in scary anything, I'm like, nope. Nope.
I'm scared of regular children, so black-eyed kids are really scary to me.
This is very valid. I mean, I have 3 and I'm scared of mine sometimes.
Oh, you gotta be. Keep you on your toes. You never know what they're up to, right?
Facts. Absolute facts.
But so the thing with the black-eyed kids, or BEK as people call them, is they started, at least in the Americas, they started real suddenly. Like there was no stories of them at all. And then all of a sudden they started, and it's been ramping up ever since. Do you want to go into this next section that tells you a little bit about them and their beginnings?
Yes, because I have legit no clue. I know, like I say, I know enough to get myself, I know what they are. I know how they can try to trick you, but I'm like, I can make a 60-second short of this and then I stop.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, you're getting into trouble now because I'm making you think about it more. And the more people that know about them seems to put people in danger for having experiences with them.
Oh my God.
So I'm cursing you all.
This is like a public service announcement.
Well, not really. It's like an attack. Or wait, you've seen The Ring, right?
Yeah.
If I get the black-eyed kids after all of you, they'll leave me alone.
You
I'm
do
playing
know
the tape.
You do know The Ring was based on a true story.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to hear more about that.
In a future episode of Deceptive Reality.
Right. Or Retraced Echoes could do it.
That is true. It could. It very well could. It's Japanese. It's a based on true story Japanese story.
Oh, I should know more about this then.
You should. That's why I was like, what do you mean you don't know anything?
Yeah,
about
I
this?
feel lacking in this regard. I had no idea.
Yeah. Sure
But
enough.
let's look into a little bit more about the black-eyed children.
Let's go. I'm curious. I've got to know.
The 90s, while not that long ago, were a very different time from the world we know today. Cell phones, while available, were incredibly uncommon and still seen mostly as a symbol of the rich. Less than 0.8% of Americans had internet, and less than 15% had a computer at all. These lack of communication options made the distances between home and where you were traveling vast. It was very easy to get lost, and if you were a kid in the early 90s and needed help, your only choice was to search out the ever-elusive payphone or to knock on strangers' doors. Hitchhiking is unthinkable today, but was quite normal back then as well. This was the world into which the black-eyed children, black-eyed kids, or simply BEK first began to insert themselves into our world. While there have been many varied tales of the black-eyed kids over the years, they all share some basic characteristics. Black-eyed children are often described as appearing to be in their early to mid-teens with pale skin and dark hair. The most distinctive feature is their completely black, soulless eyes, which lack the whites or irises found in normal human eyes. Black-eyed children typically approach individuals in a polite and formal manner, often in public places or near homes. They always request assistance, such as asking to use a phone, get a ride, or gain entry into a residence. One common theme in BEK encounters is a sense of urgency. They may convey a feeling of desperation or a need to access a particular location or vehicle quickly. Those who encounter BEKs often report feeling an overwhelming sense of fear, dread, or unease in their presence, even before noticing the black eyes. This feeling intensifies as the encounter progresses. They often persist in their requests or approach even when denied entry or assistance, which can be unsettling for those involved in an encounter. An interesting observation about the black-eyed children is that though times have changed and even most children carry cell phones, their requests for assistance have not changed. The style of clothing also has not changed in many cases from the 90s as well.
All right. So it seems like you were nodding at some parts and shaking your head at others. Was there some tidbit of info that you knew?
There's always stuff, Nick, going through my brain. I hate to tell you this.
Well, that's what I'm here digging for. Tell me what your thoughts are on this part.
I shook my head no, because there ain't no way in the world. First off, if I see two kids on my doorstep, right, which my understanding of the story is these kids will go to your door.
Yeah.
And they always, like, if the door is here, like typically you see this much of someone's face, but a lot of times it's like you don't see the actual eye stuff at the door.
Right.
So it'd be like this. And well, for those of you listening, like the eyes, like the thing will stop or they'll be looking down so as that you can't necessarily see the eyes.
Sometimes they have hoods pulled over as well.
Yes. And they're like, oh, sir, my name is Little Jimmy and I need to use your phone. Nope. Not on my watch, Little Jimmy. Go away, Little Jimmy. Ain't no way. No. Negative.
You remember being a
Ghost Rider.
kid in those times though, right? Like it was super common. Yeah. Like if you really needed to, you might knock on someone's door to get help or to use the phone. Or
no, I was too cute of a kid, man. I got kidnapped.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. No, it was a very hard life.
Oh, okay.
Very hard life, Nick. But yeah, I've
maybe.
heard other people that wasn't as good looking as me. They would have to do stuff like that.
Well, I was one of those unfortunate kids. But
that would be tragic.
Well, think back in those times, you needed to look for a payphone. Around here, they weren't very common. Failing that, you'd have to knock on someone's door to use their phone. Hopefully someone you knew, but if not, you did what you had to.
As a kid, I'm trying to think of how many times someone knocked on my door to use a phone, and I can't think of a lot of occasions.
No, it was pretty common here, I think. Like there's
Just
a lot
strangers?
of distances a lot of distances between places.
That's how all great horror stories start, Nick.
I know, and this is why the great horror stories are from. Okay, this is a personal theory of mine. The greatest horror stories are from the 80s, early 90s. And the reason is because you could go somewhere, break down, and not be able to get assistance. You couldn't look up a map on your phone. If you didn't have a map with you, you're lost. You could go somewhere that hasn't got a lot of houses and get stuck there in your car for the night. Like the world was a big, big place back then.
This is literally the starting of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right. Or what's that? Wrong Turn.
Or Wrong Turn. Yes.
Yeah. And that kind of stuff could easily have happened back then. So this sort of seemed to be like the era that these kids would shine in, because it wasn't that unnatural. And for some places for people to knock on a door to use a phone, or, and this is another weird part, is it's always some kind of entryway they're trying to get into. They want to get into your car. They want to get into your home. They never just walk up to you on the street or something like that. They need to get into some place that you are. Did you notice that in any of your research?
So the research that I saw basically explained that the two places that I saw, I actually saw a few stories. They weren't recent stories though. Like they were older stories, but, one of them was a house, right? And the lady said that one of the kids had the imagery of her grandchild. And every time she would try to get the grandchild to talk, they wouldn't talk. And it was another kid with a grandchild. It's like, yeah, I brought such and such, which was the name of her grandkid.
Oh, I've heard this one too.
Yeah. And she said that she was going to open it, but she thought it was weird that her grandkid would not say something. So she didn't open the door. She said she went to go to the phone, and when she came back, they were gone. And then she called her daughter and said, why is your kid over here, basically? And she's like, what are you talking about? He's in his bedroom. And she went, she made her daughter go to the bedroom and make sure the kid was there. And of course they was.
Yeah.
The other one was, there was a kid walking down the road and a car was passing and they stopped, and the kid had like a raincoat on, similar to the hood you was talking about.
Yeah.
And it was looking down the whole time, and they thought it was very eerie. And they did not open up the car door. And
but that's what the kid wanted, right?
The kid wanted the door open, yes.
They always want you to let them in somewhere.
Yeah.
Isn't that bizarre?
It is very, you know what it sounds like?
I do. What do you think it sounds like?
Very demonish.
Oh, I'm glad you say that, because we got a section on that too.
Ooh-wee. You know, the first thought I had when I heard all this was Skinwalker.
Yeah.
Because they imitate things.
Mm-hmm.
And those are also considered very demonish.
Yeah, a lot of things. So this is very new. Like I said, 1990. This is when this started happening in this way in, the Americas, right? Canada, United States, South America, that kind of thing. But it's not new at all in other places. But it's a little bit different, and we'll make some connections later. there is one thing I wanted to draw your attention to on this. Ever since 1990, it is becoming more and more common as the years go by. These encounters are becoming more common. But since they started, the children haven't changed with the age.
Like their clothing's not changed?
Their clothing's from the 90s. It's either simple stuff that doesn't go out of style or it's 90-ish clothing, old-fashioned kind of stuff. And how many teenagers do you know now that there could be a couple of them and neither of them have a cell phone?
Yeah, that's very odd.
Yeah, they haven't changed their tactics. They haven't changed their style. They haven't changed how they go about things or what they want. It's almost, to me, it makes me think it's almost like they were created for a purpose and have never evolved from this purpose. That's something I wonder about. Am I crazy, or could you swing that, or like?
No, because again, so not to dive too far off of topic, if you look at Native American folklore, they have the equivalent of a skinwalker and they will not talk about it at all.
Right.
But their version is it will take the form typically of the coyote. That's why they always explain in Native American folklore, the coyote is the trickster, is what they label it.
I've heard that.
But usually you can figure out that it is I forget what they call it in Native American folklore, but you can always figure it out because it does something different than other coyotes. But it's always like they would look for this one thing and then that's how they would determine that's clearly not a coyote.
Right.
And of course, skeptics just say, okay, it had rabies. It's not a skinwalker. It just had rabies.
It's an owl.
Yeah, it's a freaking owl. And then there is the skinwalkers will take the imagery of deers, coyotes also, which coincidental. But again, you can always tell because they walk weird. Like I saw a video of one the other day. It was supposedly a skinwalker, but the head was like sideways. I don't know how to explain it. It's like sideways and down in a way that a deer's head would never be. Like it'd have a broken neck. And I'm like,
right.
I don't know if that's CGI or not, but it looked really real.
There's some creepy deer around here making me wonder now. I see them on my walks at night, and now you're making me a little nervous to go out there.
Skinwalkers, Nick.
Skinwalkers.
Next week, they might be black-eyed kids, man.
I'm going to get off topic here too. But I'll tell you a story. Like about a month ago, I go for a walk every night. If you live around here, don't come out and kill me. But But in this town, deer have become overpopulated and a serious problem. Like there's gangs of 15 of them sometimes at a time.
What colors do they wear?
The deer?
Yeah, gangs. What?
Oh, they're brown.
Oh, man.
Brown and white.
Don't wear brown.
You wear brown, you're going down. But I went down the street and all of a sudden, there was this snorting and crash through the bushes. This deer leapt out. It chased this other deer and it bit it by the neck and it was sort of attacking it. And then it noticed me there and it let the other one go. And it looked at me and its jaw was open. I'd never seen a deer like that before. And it was sort of dripping goo from its mouth. And it was like huffing and snorting at me. And I'm like, okay, I don't want any trouble, man. So I just turned around and went back the other way, and it went back into the bushes. And when I came around the other street, it came out the other side and watched me. That's a skinwalker.
That's a skinwalker, Nick. I'm like, 87.326%. That's pretty strong.
Yeah, that's scary. Probably in cahoots with the black-eyed kids.
It is. What if a black-eyed kid rode a skinwalker deer?
I would evacuate my insides immediately.
Wouldn't it be something if that, like, we just like made that a reality somehow by just saying it?
Yeah, I know. I hope not. That's a nightmare.
Man.
That is total nightmare fuel.
We should make that, Nick. We should totally make that.
Let's start spreading stories about that.
Start spreading stories about we can't call them black-eyed kids now. We're going to call them the punched kids on deers.
The punched kids on deers.
I think that works, boys and girls.
Born today.
Works. They're today's day old.
I got you real off topic, but what you were saying is there's always something that gives these skinwalkers away.
Always.
And then there's something giving these kids away.
Right. It's very similar. There's also a tactic. Another thing that freaks me out is, again, when they use your voice, and that it gives it away because you're going to ask questions of the person that, like the dog story that I said earlier. What are you talking about? Like at that point, the jinx is up.
Yeah.
It's like, dang, Scoob, we figured it out. Them dang kids.
It's the kids. It's the black-eyed kids.
It's what it is, man.
Well, that was my observations on that. And something that's the stuff I found really weird. Do you want to hear the first story that we know of?
Oh yeah, we're going to you have multiple stories? I thought only one person lived to tell the
only
tale.
One person who let them in lived.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
These are stories of people that's acknowledge them.
Yeah. The first story actually is interesting. It's actually by someone who was well known and reputable and is still working today at the same job he was back then. I was surprised to find out that I could find him at his current job and see pictures of him and information. Like, normally these things are like anonymous on the internet. This guy is still working as a news reporter, no less.
Oh, I was going to say Nick Cannon here for a couple minutes, but
no,
because he's got like 27 kids or something. So I was that's nothing unusual.
He's running from kids, but it ain't black-eyed kids.
Let's hear this first story, Nick. I'm curious.
All right, roll the tapes.
One of the earliest encounters was by a well-known and reputable reporter from Reporter News. It was a muggy summer night in Abilene, Texas, back in the 90s. Brian Bethel had parked his car in the dimly lit lot of a shopping center, the nearby theater's marquee casting a faint, eerie glow over the scene. He was engrossed in filling out a check to pay a bill, the only source of illumination being the soft, flickering letters of the marquee. As Brian's pen glided across the check, he was suddenly startled by a light tapping on the driver's side window. Startled, he turned his gaze toward the source of the sound and was met with a sight that sent chills racing down his spine. There, standing just inches away from his car, were two children. The children seemed to have materialized out of thin air, and there was no sign of a parent or guardian in the vicinity. They were dressed in what appeared to be ordinary, somewhat old-fashioned clothing. One of them was a girl who looked to be around 10 years old, while the other, slightly older, appeared to be a boy of around 14. At first glance, there was nothing particularly unusual about their appearance, except for one unsettling detail. Their eyes, normally the window to the soul, were entirely devoid of the usual features. There were no discernible irises or whites in their eyes, just two infinite pools of glistening blackness that seemed to absorb all light around them. Brian's heart raced as he locked eyes with the children, a sensation of dread washing over him. He instinctively cracked his car window open just a fraction and asked the children what they wanted. The girl began to speak, her voice soft and seemingly innocent as she explained that they had come to see a movie but realized they had left their money at their mother's house, which was not too far away. They simply needed a ride to retrieve it. Despite the seemingly harmless nature of their request, an overwhelming feeling of fear welled up inside Brian. He couldn't shake the inexplicable sense of danger that emanated from the children, even as he struggled to find any logical reason for it. The older child continued to insist that they needed a ride, all the while maintaining the eerie and intense eye contact that sent shivers down Brian's spine. Brian's hand moved involuntarily, as if acting against his own will, toward the car door handle. It was a surreal sensation, as if some unseen force was compelling him to let them in, despite the voice in his head screaming at him to drive away and escape this unsettling encounter. Just as it seemed he might give in to this strange compulsion, Brian was abruptly shaken from his trance-like state. With a rush of clarity and a surge of adrenaline, he muttered an apology to the children, his voice trembling, and slammed his foot on the gas pedal. The tires screeched as he sped away from the parking lot, leaving the haunting figures behind. As he glanced in his rearview mirror, heart pounding, Brian couldn't believe what he saw. Or rather, what he didn't see. The children had vanished into the obscurity of the night, leaving him with an unsettling encounter that would haunt him for years to come.
2 thoughts, neither of them helpful.
Okay.
Neither of them helpful. Thought number 1, the little boy from It that got ate when his boat went down the thing. What was his name?
No, it wasn't.
I want to say it starts with a J. Someone is screaming at us right now as they're watching this podcast going, "You idiots, you emphasis."
I know. It was the little brother, and you see him later standing in the flooded basement, and he starts screaming at you.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
Potentially, it saved our lives because he was a very eerie child also.
Right.
Observation number 1. Observation number 2, these black-eyed children have the same capabilities as Vecna.
Oh, to sort of like compel you?
Yes.
To do something. You had mentioned this earlier, that they sort of compel you to do something.
Yes.
Even though you clearly don't want to. Like this guy was terrified, but his hand was slowly reaching for the door. That's creepy.
I wonder if, because again, that's a very demonic thing. I wonder if these people that are having these experiences are in some form of a depressive state, or if they are in the beginning stages of like oppression.
Like it makes you wonder what's been going on in their lives up to this point, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this, and I like that. I like that idea. Because there could be a whole story before this that we don't know.
Correct. But
and this is the part where let me in.
Yes, because, you know what? I never even thought of this. Think about every demonic case where there's an entity before, with the exception of Enfield. It always comes as like Annabelle was what?
Yeah.
A little girl. Girl, soul went into the doll. Robert the doll was voodoo, so that one doesn't count. But there was another little case. What was it? The one where the kid got cancer in the house and blah 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 blah. There was kids in that one too.
Yeah. Well, what? Who are you more likely to let in? A vulnerable child that couldn't possibly harm you? Like, what better guys to take, right?
That's 1,000%. And it's almost like they know that's the case, which is very scary. No more children. Got it. Perfect.
Yep. And don't let them in anywhere.
No. If I don't know you, listen, you might as well be a freaking door-to-door salesman. I'm not letting you in to show me your vacuum. Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Electrolux, get out of here.
Exactly. Get out. Get out of my house. Get on my yard.
Yeah, but that's the part I keep getting over. They always want you to let them in somewhere. And we could make parallels to that, like let me into your life kind of thing.
Correct. Just like a demon. Same exact thing. Because a demon, that's how they do it, man. I'd be super curious to know what was going on in these people's lives before then.
I would too. Now, maybe we can reach out to this guy.
That would
do you want to try that?
I'll try it. I mean, we got nothing to lose. Listen, come on our podcast.
Well, I mean, just send him an email. Like, we can contact him. He's on their website and everything. I'm sure we can contact him. Whether he's going to pay attention to us or not, that's another story.
I mean, we're a reputable podcast company. Why would you not?
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. Maybe in a coming something.
Stay tuned. Maybe I'll bring him on. What's his first name?
Maybe. It's Brian Bethel.
Brian, listen. Look at me in the eyes, unless you're listening to me. But look me in the eyes. Unlike those kids, I'm not going to make you reach for the doorknob, okay? Or for the car door latch, whatever it's called. Door handle, okay? I'm not going to make you reach for it.
Yeah.
But if you want to come on this podcast, I will invite you to open the door. That sounded a little creepy. You know what I'm saying, though?
That's almost exactly what the kids did. He's
I
not.
know, that's why I thought
now.
about this. I'm like, God, he's going to think I'm a dark-eyed child or something. And I took a new form. I've I've evolved.
Can you edit this episode so our eyes are dark all the time?
I can. That's the creepy part.
That might be a lot of work. Don't worry about that.
You know,
but you're on,
Brian.
or terrifying, traumatic.
He has PTSD after watching our podcast. Yeah. See who we are.
So I love where you've taken the theory here.
Mm-hmm.
But there's stuff coming up that I'm gonna, because I know how you feel about the demonic stories, but I also know how you feel about the extraterrestrial stuff. So I think you're going to be conflicted where you think this comes from. That's my prediction. I'm kind of curious what way you're going to go.
Are you talking about like the extraterrestrial reptile people kind of things?
I don't think reptiles, but like I'm talking like UFOs, abductions, aliens, men in black, all this kind of stuff.
I guess I'd have to hear the stories because I'm not in my brain right now. I'm not able to wrap around the concepts. I clearly did not do enough research on this.
Well, a lot of people, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, and the next story will sort of introduce it a little bit. But the next story could be demonic, but could also be related to UFO and Men in Black. And then we're going to have to go into that stream of thinking for a little bit.
What I'd love to do is know what was going on with these people before.
Right.
Like, are these, well, in his case, like there's no chance of like sleep paralysis or anything like that. So that wouldn't make sense. Well,
it could be. He just might not mention that.
Yeah, but he was in his car. Driving.
Oh, you mean immediately before? I thought you were meant like the week before or something like that.
No, because a lot of the cases happen like relatively quick, like right after sleep paralysis.
Right.
Within hours, typically, or they're saying in the same time frame.
I don't think that's the case for this. I don't think.
Yeah.
Now he could have been having bouts of it leading up to this, but
could be.
Like it's turned night. He's in his car. He's there to pay a bill with a check. So I think it's unlikely that he just got out of a bout of sleep paralysis. Seems unlikely.
Yeah. Very unlikely.
But like you, I'd like to know what was going on in his life up to this point and the other people in the stories.
Oh, yeah, because I'd be like, what was going on in your home life, huh? What's going on? Or maybe not. I wouldn't do that if you came on the podcast. I absolutely would not do anything like that.
No, I think, and here's a failing I find with some paranormal investigators, and I'm not saying all, but some, is I think you really got to dig into the past of the people, what's going on with them before this started happening, because you never hear that information. Maybe it's too boring and no one relays it, but I think that's important, super important.
I would agree with that. I think that it's a case where, and I'll be honest, I've always said I wished I could do podcasts And then in addition to that, add the ghost hunting element into it, because I feel like I would make the most boring ghost hunting show ever, but it would be so real.
Right.
Like, I don't know if you had an opportunity. I sent you a video on Discord a while back. I'm like, you got to watch this. And I'm super curious your opinion of it, because there's a lot of ghost shows that I've been watching here lately. And I go, this is so fake. Like, no part of this is clearly real. Like, it makes for great TV, but it's so blatantly fake that I think the
last thing you sent me that I watched was the Bob Lazar thing, which, by the way, we have an amazing 2-part episode on that everyone should be listening to.
Oh, for sure. And it did extremely well. It's been a few weeks now since we've done that. It did extremely well across our platforms.
Oh, it should. That was I was so into that story. Like, I don't have a ton of time, but you gave me a documentary to watch after that, and I was on it the next night. So,
oh yeah.
But this other one, I don't think I've seen.
Yeah, that one is interesting. The story that we're going to be covering next is mine. It's already done. It's polished. I got it.
Oh. Are you going to give me a clue right now? Is that what's happening?
No.
Oh. Well, you barbiguous man.
No, it's a great one though, and there's a documentary on that also. I've not watched it. I want to watch it really bad. My guess is you know the story. I just don't think you know everything about this story.
That is very likely. You stumped me on a Japanese legend today, and I'm super ashamed of that. So
yeah,
it could happen.
The only reason I found that out was because someone did a YouTube video on Sadako, or what's her name?
Sadako,
yes. And I was interesting because I'm like, yeah, I wonder where this is. Like, is this folklore or something? Like, where did this come from? And they broke it all down. I'm like, holy smokes, that's crazy.
Oh yeah. Have you ever spent any time looking into Japanese folklore and yokai tales and stuff like that?
Oh, not enough.
There's some I've messed up stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, messed up stuff.
And some of it's spookier than American, like Bloody Mary here in the States. There's a version of that, which is the cut mouth girl or whatever her name is.
The slit mouth lady.
Slit mouth lady. Yeah, that's creepy too.
Oh yeah. I know it's not Japanese, but I had some friends from who I used to work with from mainland China, and they would not talk about ghost stories at all, because in North America, we're mostly like, ghosts can't hurt you. You know, they're not going to hurt you. It's scary, but they won't hurt you. In Asia, they'll mess you up. A ghost will kill you. Like, it's not good.
Think about Slitmouth Girl. Like, she's always wearing a mask, and then she takes her mask off and she legit devours parts of the person. Yeah, no, I'm good on that. I don't need.
At least she's COVID conscious to wear a mask.
She's definitely COVID conscious. Think about it. How scary that would be during COVID.
I know. Anyone could be the lady.
You'd never know. You'd be walking around going,
anyone.
Are you having a good day?
If someone reaches for their mask, you got to run.
You got to run fast. Fast as the wind.
Oh, yeah. But,
well, Nick, I want to hear about this UFO. Now you got me curious. You said that's the next story?
Well, there's a little more on that later, but this next one might give you doubt. But this is also, you had asked earlier about, is this demonic or is this alien related?
Oh, I got you.
So you had asked earlier, do we have any stories of people who survived actually letting them in? This is the only one that I was able to find.
Wow.
So let's give this a try.
Thousands of other stories have been told since, but what if you were to let the children in? We have only one tale of this. In the depths of a harsh Vermont winter, January 2016 brought with it a chilling tale of terror and misfortune as a woman unwittingly opened her home to two black-eyed children. The unforgiving blizzard raged outside, its icy fingers tapping against the windows when she heard a faint, almost mournful, knocking on her front door. Two figures, a boy and a girl, huddled together on her doorstep, their frail forms shivering with cold and their eyes concealed beneath hoods. Despite the creeping unease that settled over her, the woman's empathy led her to cautiously swing open the door and invite the children inside. They spoke softly, their words tinged with desperation, pleading to use her telephone to reach their absent parents. Her better judgment whispered in her ear, but the woman, moved by their apparent vulnerability, allowed them to cross the threshold into her home. As they ventured into the glow of the family room, the woman's heart tightened, her breath caught in her throat. The dim light revealed their ghastly secret. Their eyes, once hidden, were entirely black, as though they had gazed into an abyss that had swallowed their souls. Fear gripped her, rendering her momentarily paralyzed as she stood before the sinister pair. And then, in a harrowing instant, the darkness seemed to seep from their eyes, creeping into the very fabric of the room. Her husband, who had been a silent observer, suddenly clutched his nose as blood began to flow, staining his hands and clothes. Simultaneously, the lights flickered and vanished, plunging the room into a suffocating, moonless night. Time hung suspended, a heavy veil of dread enveloping the woman as she struggled to fathom the inexplicable. It was then that the children, their eyes now voids of light and emotion, broke the silence. Their words, delivered in eerie unison, cut through the suffocating atmosphere like a frigid gust of wind, announcing the arrival of their parents. The woman watched, transfixed and helpless, as the two unsettling children silently withdrew from her home, their figures swallowed by the inky abyss of the blizzard outside. They entered a nondescript black car, where a man in a dark suit awaited, his face concealed in the darkness. In the days that followed the strange encounter, a sinister shadow of misfortune descended upon the household. Her husband, previously in robust health, was diagnosed with severe skin cancer, while the woman herself began to suffer from a series of unexplained medical afflictions. Her nose bled with alarming regularity, and an unrelenting barrage of other ailments plagued her since that day.
Oh, heck no.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to let them in.
Yeah, don't never let them in. You're never going to get that stain out of your carpet for sure. You know, but the story I get, but there's one thing that I caught on to.
Okay.
Most occasions of demonic possession, there's always a nosebleed, typically early on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm like 95% sure. I'm going to double check this.
It must have been pretty severe, too, because it was pouring through his fingers onto the carpet and all this stuff. So that's pretty dramatic.
I know that I've seen cases before with demonic possessions, and one of the things that they categorize is that they have nosebleeds. It's not uncommon. I think there were some big cases like that. One case, is it haunting in Connecticut? Is that what it is? You know what?
I've heard
that kid
of that
had
one.
cancer too.
Oh, yeah. And this, her husband got skin cancer in the story, severe skin cancer. Like, that's something I feel like you notice. It's not something that sneaks up on you so much. I could be wrong about that, though.
I don't know enough about it. Yeah, so I can see where there's cases. This is from an exorcist. And that is one of the things that he's got down. Obviously, he's got a few different ones. He's got that it's not uncommon for there to be a biochemical, which can cause the disease process by means of internal black toxic substances. I'm going to butcher this word. Melancholia?
Melancholia?
Melancholia.
Yeah, melancholia. Like a melancholy would be a sad or depressed feeling kind of thing.
What does that have to do with a black toxic substance? And that doesn't make any sense.
I have no idea.
Melancholy.
Maybe it's something else as well that we're not aware of.
Could be. Very well could be.
Yeah.
The Greeks, humor, the demons, the mental constructions, these are all part within an understanding is a different metaphor for a similar universal concept within all. So it looks like the Greeks had also had a version of this also, where nosebleeds were something that was there.
I'm going to, just for a moment, steer you in another direction with this one and see if you think this is possible. Because we know that abductions often have nosebleeds. Close contact with aliens and stuff cause cancers sometimes, the radiation and that kind of thing. There seems like it's not without the realm of possibility that there could be a loss of time because the kids come in, all this happens suddenly, electricity disrupted, a lot of UFO incidents happen with that, and all of a sudden, seems like a couple minutes later, they're like, okay, our parents are here. And then they leave, but they get into a black car with a person in a black suit inside of it, and then they take off. So that's got a lot in common with abductions and Men in Black UFO stories. There's a couple directions this could take. We got the demonic and we've got extraterrestrial.
See, this is a problem with these kind of stories because like right now I'm trying to piece it all together in my head. And I'm trying not to pause for long periods of time.
I know that's a challenge on a podcast sometimes.
It is because it's like I don't have time to just do a quick cut where we're back. We're back. But yeah, that's very interesting. I almost want to do more research on this because that's what if I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it.
Yeah, it's something to scratch your head about. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and really, it's only kind of recently that I've been thinking, man, I think I originally started off thinking this is demonic, and then I got into this is alien abductions, and then I sort of swing back into the demonic, and then I'm into alien abductions. There's so many things that it could be either, and like we talked about before. Through different time periods, these things have been described as different things. So who knows, man?
Well, you do know, obviously, most, if you look at biblical scholars, will say that UFOs are demonic.
Yeah, I actually attended a conference one time run by an evangelist who covers all these things. And he said that UFOs were demonic and it was like superheating of the metal that made them fly. And it was to cast doubt in people's minds.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Now, okay, I should say that's what I heard. I don't believe that. I think these are two separate things entirely.
Still but interesting, though.
I'm interested to hear that stuff.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is a lot of times, even if there's something like crazy, it's like there might be just enough truth in that crazy that it takes you to another hypothesis.
Right. And when you don't know the answer and you don't have proof for one or the other, each is equally possible, I guess.
That is true.
It just depends on what you believe in, what you're willing to make a leap of faith on and what you're not.
I'm still not knowing that I can take that to a UFO. I get the concepts.
Just not sure, huh?
Well, here's the thing. I can't necessarily say that a UFO isn't a demon.
That's true. Do you think that it is? I guess this is a big question that we've kind of been dancing around. Do you think that aliens and UFOs are demonic?
I don't know.
It's possible.
That one, it's possible.
Yeah.
Like the scientific part of my brain goes, absolutely not. Then again, the unscientific Christian part of my brain goes, absolutely.
See, I feel bad for you right now because you got 3 people who are scowling at you right at the moment. You've got religious folk that are like, how could you doubt that they're demonic? You've got religious folk that are like, there's no such thing as UFOs at all. And you've got religious folk that are like, these are 2 separate things.
Here's how I can get away with it.
Okay.
For all those that says, how could you not believe that UFOs are demonic?
Right.
Give me a single UFO case where they have tortured, killed, or negatively manipulated an individual.
Okay. Fair enough.
Let's have an open conversation. Do you have one? I'll even give you time to look it up. By the next podcast, find one.
Yeah.
That wasn't inadvertent. You cannot say PTSD. And you also cannot say that due to this event, now their life is ruined. Listen, I saw a case the other day. I can't say it because I'm bringing it to a podcast.
Okay.
Never mind. But there is a case where it's like, this bad thing happened and it affected this person that way. True.
Right.
But that was just dumb luck. Like if I'm a UFO and I'm coming from wherever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I came down, it's not like I'm like, I want that one right there. I'm picking the first thing I can get.
Yeah. First isolated creature you come across.
Correct. So if you can't give me a case, and anyone that is a true biblical scholar, when we talk demonic, we're talking depression, oppression, and then possession. That's every single case. They follow that routine. UFOs, it's a one and done for probably 85% of the cases. The other 15, I can't speak on that. But as far as how can I not think that they're separate? Because I see similarities in all the cases. Right? No differently than my mom and I was talking the other day. We was talking about the podcast where we was talking about Bigfoot. She goes, how in the world did you go from Bigfoot to, or she said, you went from Bigfoot to Mac and me. And I go, I see similarities. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You know, but that's the thing. It's like all of these things have certain characteristics where I can go. It's like right now when we're talking UFO, my head is piecing pieces of it in different areas.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We're talking about these kids. We've already talked about skinwalkers, Native American folklore. We've talked, and all these things, they correlate, but I can't prove it, right? Just because, you know, I heard a scientist say it the other day and it ticked me off so bad. I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. He said that clearly an octopus has to be from another planet, which is a scientist of all people. But anyway, whatever.
I heard when this was going around, by the way, I recall this.
You know, it's very likely that it came from whatever he said, a comet or whatever. And I'm like, here's the thing. To think that a UFO comes down and then we dissect it up and we go, oh, the DNA is whatever an octopus is like 97% the same DNA as ours, the same DNA buildup. To say, yeah, no, this UFO has the same DNA. What idiot are you that you think that coming from and I hear it all the time and this ticks me off too. It makes me so mad. Well, we breathe oxygen and blood. First off, no, we don't. We breathe nitrogen with a little bit of oxygen in it. But what if a planet, the creatures breathe ammonia? Their DNA is not going to be the same. So we don't know how that works, but it's our human nature to go, well, look how great we are. They're going to follow our DNA. No, it isn't. There's no proof of that. We've never proven that.
We know how the rules work where we are, which is less than 1,000,000% of everything.
Correct.
Less than 1,000,000,000,000% of it. Well, actually, these numbers don't even matter because it's infinite as far as I know.
Infinite. Correct.
Right. So, yeah. So, no, everything you just said makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, because I mean, we just, as idiot humans, we just don't know. We don't know what, but I see similarities, but it's no differently than, you know, if you, here's a great example, right? If you're a UFO, which follows in line with these black-eyed kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna correlate. I'm gonna tie this all together.
All right, bring it around.
A nice little bow. UFO comes to Earth, and they go, well, clearly they're going to kidnap us to do these tests. Why? If we are around insects all the time, there's only a few nerds that bottle them bad boys up and study them.
Right.
You know, the 99.9998% of the rest of the population just steps on them because they don't even acknowledge the fact that they're there.
Right. Or avoids them.
UFOs the same. Yeah. If these black-eyed kids were UFOs, first off, why would this is where my brain hiccups and it's like, this doesn't make sense. If they're that smart to where they can extraterrestrial, they can go anywhere. How's a doorknob such a difficult thing for them to get in?
Right. How can they not get into your home?
They flew from Zeta Articuli or whatever, Reticuli. Zeta Reticuli.
Right.
They flew 20 light years here. And they're like, well, I got to have this thing let me in. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. God.
They're space vampires. How could I have not seen this before?
True Blood. This is like True Blood. It's like True Blood.
They got to invite him in. You got to invite him in. No, that is a very good point. That's a very good point.
Whereas demonically, again, if you're going biblical, all you biblical people out there, you have to let it in. And the reason for that is because it's not theirs to take.
Right. It's more metaphorical, I guess you would say. It's like you're not really letting them into your house. They're letting them into yourself.
Correct. Yeah. But with the way that I would explain this is the black-eyed children would be similar they're looking metaphorically for a way for you to allow them in. No differently than a demon will oftentimes trick people to like when they say Ouija board is not demonic. Well, it kind of is because you're still letting them in.
I think you specifically invite them in.
You do.
With that.
Correct. So demonic is very weird. And the theory behind that is like this body, if you go biblically, this is not my body. I'm just borrowing it. So if it's not mine to give and I'm borrowing it, when you invite a demon in, it's almost like you're allowing them also to use something that's not theirs.
You're illegally subletting.
Not mine to give. Yes. Correct. That is a great.
I'll tell you what, if there is that segment of the population that believes that UFOs are demonic, boy, howdy, have we got the episode for you, and it's this one. Because you're going to be sure that you're right if you listen to this episode. You're going to be sure.
For sure. 100%, Nick. I would have to lean that way more so, though. It almost makes more sense to lean that direction, in my opinion.
In this case, I can buy into that a little bit, but I wholeheartedly feel that UFOs are not demonic. But I can't say that they're not. I just don't think that they are.
I think that it goes back to our theory, and we talked about this a couple of podcasts ago, or maybe it was last podcast. It's always easy to point the finger of blame and go, that's bad.
Right.
That's bad. And in my case, like I don't know, you know,
No. Well, none of us do. That's the thing.
No. Bob Lazar, that's the only person.
He's
Bob
the
Lazar,
only
come on
fellow
our
who
podcast.
knows. Please help us, Bob.
Please help us, Bob.
We're
We need
going to
all help
get
we
Bob and Brian on the same
need. Exactly.
episode.
The same podcast.
And we're gonna suss it out. We're gonna figure out what's going on here.
Yes.
So one thing that is weird to me about this story is this started happening suddenly in the 90s in the Americas, and it's been ramping up, but it's got a lot of connections to other older things in other places. Do you want to hear a bit about those connections? We've talked about a bit.
Yes.
Because you've made the links. Actually, you made a link with one that's not on here, which we'll have to talk about too. But let's hear a little bit about the olden days.
And before we tap into that, I do want to say one thing that I keep noticing.
What's that?
And maybe it's not by design. They're always tapping.
Tapping,
They're
rapping
always
upon
tapping.
our doors.
Yes. I mean, has there been cases where there's a doorbell and they're ringing the doorbell?
Ooh. I've read a lot of these stories, and I would say not a one. Always knocking or
Isn't
tapping.
that odd that it's always knocking? And what do demons do?
Not use the doorbell. They knock. But a
They
lot of
knock on
things
walls?
do. A lot of things do. Another thing I'd bring into it, because these things are old fashioned, they don't seem to change with the times. Doorbells have probably been around a long time. But I wonder if they...
Not that long.
How old do you figure doorbells are?
40s, 50s, maybe?
Okay.
At the earliest for rich people.
Yeah. I don't know.
But if we're talking about spirits, things that were not human forms, right? Like if you go back to biblical times, right? And you look at Nephilim,
Right.
right? Are they going to know what something is from the 1950s? Maybe they're that old guy that's like, I don't care about no doorbell. We're doing it the
Right.
old fashioned way.
Oh, those old fellas that still got flip phones and refuse to get anything else. But
Exactly.
it seems like these kids are stuck in a previous time and they don't learn anything. It's almost like they do their little mission and then they hang them up in a closet. They don't interact with people otherwise. But that
What
is a
if-
good point.
Because every single time so far we've talked about it, and I'm thinking back to when I did those few, I don't ever remember there being ringing of the doorbells.
No, I've read a lot
It's
of
always
stories
a knock.
and not one.
And
two
they
I
always
recall.
say they tap.
Yeah.
And when I think tap, I think with my finger.
Right.
That's what
That's a
I think.
good point.
That's probably not the case, but that's what I think of when someone says they tap on a window.
I do think you're on to, well, definitely the car was a tapping. They specifically said that. Now, the door on the house, I don't know if they said knocking or whatever, but I guarantee that I've not read one where they rang a doorbell. Not once.
I can't think of them. It's very interesting. But let's jump into the olden times. I'm curious now, Nick. Maybe it's going to tell us
Yeah.
there's ringing some doorbells.
Maybe. I don't think so. I wrote this, so I don't think so.
You wrote it. So.
I should say
Let's
I
go.
know there's not. Let's go.
Tales of the black-eyed children have grown in quantity every single year since the first story, all across the United States and Canada. Why did it start so suddenly and dramatically in 1990? No one knows for sure. However, there are a number of surprisingly similar tales from other countries in the past. In European folklore, changelings are believed to be creatures that replace human infants, exhibiting strange or unsettling behavior. These tales share some thematic similarities with black-eyed kid encounters. Some Asian cultures have ghost stories involving children with black eyes. These spirits may seek help or harbor malevolent intentions, much like the behavior attributed to black-eyed children in the previous story. Various Middle Eastern and Islamic traditions include stories of malevolent spirits or jinns that may take on human forms and engage in deceptive or unsettling behavior. When masquerading as children, the jinn often have jet black eyes.
So you added the skinwalkers, but this is the same kind of thing we're seeing in place after place throughout the ages. These things taking the form of children with black eyes.
Which makes sense. I'm looking something up as we go here.
Right.
Because I'm super curious.
A thought just occurred to me that might be a little crazy, but are they migrating? Is that why they only show up at certain times in certain places?
It goes back again to my theory that if you look at a lot of these folklore cases, they typically start somewhere and then they move around. They don't, like, they might stay in the area, but you'll see the transition from one to the next, which makes me wonder, are they all interconnected in some realms? No differently than the Mothman, right? Like we talked about the Mothman.
He sort of migrated a little bit.
Yeah, as Point Pleasant is where we started talking about him for our story.
Right.
But if you go back and look, it was all over the place.
And it doesn't seem to be simultaneous. It seems like they're here then, and then they're somewhere else.
Correct. In fact, there was a more recent case that came out that was about a lady. I may have said this on a podcast. I can't remember where I tell stuff, but her dad had a case where he was supposed to be on a train and he didn't because he saw this Mothman thing. And she just told her story. They literally just wrote an entire article on her, but that was nowhere near. And she said that the Mothman actually saved her dad because he didn't go after that.
Oh, we talked about that, and he seemed to be doing a really poor job of saving people, but trying to save people nonetheless.
Yeah, because he saved some minors too.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if we added up the numbers, he's not very good at it, but he's trying. He's putting in the work. Right. We appreciate you, Mothman. Screecher. Hashtag Screecher.
The Screecher. I looked up the only cases where I see the black-eyed children ring doorbells are in TikToks. And we all know that's just kids making things.
I've not read a single story where they rung a doorbell.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere where that's the case.
Yeah.
That's very interesting to me.
That's definitely not as scary to me anyway. Like if the doorbell rings, well, I don't want people to ring my doorbell, but a knock when you have a functioning doorbell is kind of creepy.
Facts. Something scarier about that. It's more primitive, Nick.
Yeah. But look, we've got these traditions from everywhere. I thought the jinn one was very interesting.
Yeah, I just looked up the jinn recently for something that I was doing. And it's very interesting when you look at the jinn is very much like a skinwalker.
Right.
It's exactly the same thing, basically.
Now this one sort of like the jinn sort of break the rule we were talking about earlier, because there's still semi-frequent viewings of jinn going on.
Yeah.
So, and those, I don't know if you've seen the videos of them. There's a lot of videos of that kind of thing, and they are probably fake, but incredibly terrifying.
Yeah, I've not really looked into it much. I did, like I say, some research for the jinn probably 3 weeks ago, because I was incorporating it in something else that I ended up going with for my channel.
Yeah.
Because I could not find enough similarities. Because somebody's saying something's a jinn, but the more I looked at it, I'm like, you're crazy. It's not.
Well, a lot of it's a catch-all phrase for like evil spirits anyway. And I have to admit, I went an embarrassing large part of my life saying "de jinn."
Oh, yeah. It's very, yeah. There's a lot of those names for things where we're probably all saying them wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And like I said, you added the Skinwalker to this, and that's a good addition that I didn't get in there. But changelings were a good example. Regular kids being
That's
replaced.
the baby.
Yeah. And they grow up with the families sometimes as well. So,
That's
and
a whole new level of creepy.
Oh, I know. And in Asian cultures, a lot of the ghosts, especially of children, have blacked out eyes. But they're ghosts more often than anything. I don't know if they take physical form very often in those stories.
What if Mama Leeds? What if Mama Leeds had
a changeling?
Black-eyed child.
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, could be. Definitely was a changeling. That wasn't natural.
Correct.
Something
they're all
was
tied
up.
together.
The father's like, "You've been seeing that horse?"
Oh man. Everyone who watched our podcast go, these two go off the rails.
Oh yeah. We're so far off the rails. We're not even on a train.
No, we're on one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. We're catching up to the chain. I don't know what they're called, but we're cranking both sides of it, trying to catch up.
Cranking both sides.
Yeah.
Like the big teeter totter.
Yeah. We got some theories. Listen to us.
Which, by the way, none of you guys can see this on the recording land, but I got a big old Bigfoot shirt on.
Oh yes, fantastic,
man! It's a great shirt. I love this shirt. Love this shirt.
I think people tune in for your shirts. That's why our YouTube does well.
No doubt. They just want to see what shirt I got on.
Yeah, it's the game. They got a bingo card. They scratch off a cryptid with every shirt you've got.
Oh man, could you imagine?
Woo. So we've got one more section left. And this next section is going into something we've gone into a lot already, but we're going to talk about what people have theorized these things are. What are these black-eyed kids? Like, what's their origins?
I'm ready.
So let's play that and see if we agree.
The origins and nature of black-eyed children remain shrouded in mystery, and as a result, various theories and speculations have emerged to explain their existence. Here are some of the theories that have been proposed. Supernatural entities. Many believe that they are supernatural entities or otherworldly beings. Some theorize that they could be demons, malevolent spirits, or even extraterrestrial visitors, assuming these forms to interact with humans. Religious scholars have proposed that the children may be demons, and letting them into your home or car is letting the devil into your life. Ghosts or lost souls. Another theory is that they are the spirits of deceased children who are trapped in the earthly realm. They may appear to seek help or convey unresolved issues from their past lives. Vampires. A less common theory suggests that black-eyed kids could be a modern reinterpretation of vampire lore. In some vampire legends, vampires have the ability to mesmerize or hypnotize their victims, which may be linked to the hypnotic nature of BEK encounters. Aliens or men in black. Many encounters share very similar habits with stories of men in black and alien infiltration. In some stories, BEK encounters are accompanied by UFO sightings or are seen in the presence of traditional men in black suits. While there are many theories, the truth remains unknown. Since its sudden start in 1990, sightings and encounters have ramped up significantly every year after. What are their goals? What do those who are approached by them have in common? Are the growing sightings leading to something? If you hear a knock at your door tonight, you may find out.
Oh no, I'm not gonna open the door, Nick.
I went and made the last sentence purposely scary. So
one sound effects on this one.
Oh man, I can't wait. There's one thing that I put in here and I completely forgot. There are a lot of people saying that these are the modern day vampire stories. And you know what? There's I mean, it said it right there. The hypnotism, they got to be let in. the blood that seemed to happen in there. And they actually made a movie called Let the Right One In, or Let Me In. Did you ever see those?
No, I don't watch anything vampire related.
Oh, okay. Well, all it was is basically a young kid that's a vampire that makes friends with a lonely other young kid. And it was
sure that ended well.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. It did not end well. But that's one thing. I don't know what your thoughts are on vampires.
I don't like vampires at all.
No? Personally, or just
Nope.
don't think they're a real thing that could exist?
I definitely think, again, I think that's demonic.
Right.
That's me. That's a me personal thing.
You agree with Buffy
So
the
I piece them
Vampire
together.
Slayer?
Never seen it. I know of it, but yeah.
Their vampires are demons in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, think about it. Like if you look at demonic anything, there's always blood-letting, sacrifice. Like it all sounds demonic to me.
Yeah.
Like that entire world is demonic.
Well, the not to go too far into Buffy, but I love that series. The lore on them was that once upon a time, when the earth was dark, demons roamed the earth, sort of had whole dominion over it. But when the light was created, they were forced out, and the only demons that were able to remain on the earthly plane were ones that mingled with humans.
Nephilim.
Or vampires in this case. But yeah, basically.
Yeah, because that's what Nephilims did according to biblical. So they probably took a page out of that book, which makes sense.
So we could lump them in with the demonic part.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah, so ghosts or lost souls.
Ghosts? Yeah, that's 100% no.
Yeah, I don't buy that one either. Maybe an Asian ghost, but not a good old North American ghost.
Correct. Like if I was to look at this, of the options we have, if I had to put percentages by it,
right?
Not because I'm putting vampires and demons in the same category.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
91% demon.
Okay.
0% ghosts.
Right.
9% aliens or MIB.
Really? My ratings were 0% on everything except for aliens, MIB, and demonic. Both are 50%.
Ooh, that's strong.
Yeah.
50-50.
Yeah, because I flip-flop on this a lot. I think about this a lot.
If someone said it was life and death and you have to choose one, which way are you leaning more?
UFO.
We're split down the center, boys and girls.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose one, I'd choose that, but I'm really 50-50. But
makes sense.
There's a part of me that is drawn to the demonic, but he just can't go there all the way.
You cannot go 100% on that one, Nick.
I can't. I'm a half demon, half alien kind of guy.
I just feel like the demon part of it fits more of what I know of demons.
Yeah. The only thing that you got me on, and I would have said probably 60% alien before, is just that door thing. It's the door
very
thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what evens it out for me.
I'm going to do more research on this because I'm super curious. Like I say, I did a little bit for the short, and then after I was done with the short, I'm like, all right, that's all I need.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot more. I mean, you can find no end of stories. I mean, there's like people who have done, and in fact, I've got a book coming from Amazon about stories of the Black-Eyed Kids.
Oh, wow. You're really into this, Nick.
It spooked me for a long time, and I can't believe I didn't think of it for a podcast on things that spook us. Until you said some keyword that I can't remember what it was. And I was like, I got to do that. But
if you knew how many things I've got randomly saved in a file, when I see or hear something, and I got to jot it down because I'm like, I'm going to totally forget this.
Yeah, my next episode is the sequel to this. It's just called Regular Kids. And it's just a list of reasons I find them scary.
Might be scarier, Nick. There's days.
Man, I ain't a dad. And that's why.
Man. I feel you on that. 100%.
No, I think for like people who are parents, this is kind of, I would think this would be extra scary.
Oh, yeah.
Because
now if one of my kids starts acting weird, I'm going to be like demon or potential ghost MIB or a potential alien MIB.
It's a demalion.
Exactly. Demalion.
But I also think you're more likely than me to help a kid who turns out to be a black-eyed kid.
Not after this story, Nick.
Oh,
Put an extra deadbolt on my door. I ain't taking no chances.
Yeah. Someone knocks at the door. You're like, you one of my kids or a different kid?
Exactly. I'm going to be on my ring going, hey, ring the doorbell. Let me see if it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. If you ring that doorbell, you can come in.
You're still not allowed in, but listen.
Yeah.
We can talk.
Yeah. Put your eye up to the camera.
Oh, man. It's definitely an interesting story. I guess on this one, folks, we're going to be a 50-50 on this one. We can't come up to a direct hypothesis.
Man. It's tough.
Let us know in the comments, wherever you're at. Let us know what you think it is. Which way do you think it's leaning? Do you think it's a demon, a ghost, a vampire, or an alien /MIB?
Or a demalion.
Or a demalion.
Like we think, I guess. Or is it an owl?
Thank you for everyone. Thank you for everyone has been rocking our stuff out too. Wherever you're listening to our podcast, please be sure to review it. If you would share it, I'd love you forever.
Oh,
Not in a weird way. But
I will in a weird way.
Forever. Nick will do it in a weird way for both of us.
If you want the weird way, you'll get it. If you don't, Bert will take care of you. It's all good.
You'll get it again.
You'll get one way or another, whatever you like.
One way or another. We're gonna.
All right, we just lost everyone there. We better cut this off real quick.
They're gone. They're gone. Well, thanks for everyone who checked in. Definitely appreciate you. Until we see y'all on the next podcast. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.